The moment the words slipped from my lips, time froze. Dozens of officers in crisp navy blues turned their heads, the rustle of papers falling silent. And there I was, Lieutenant Samuel Hayes, standing in front of the most respected captain in the fleet, with the word baby hanging in the air like a live grenade. His lips curved into the slowest, most dangerous smile I had ever seen. Captain Elias Kane, decorated war hero, tactical genius, and the man who could command a battleship with a single glance, was looking directly at me as if I had just given him the most valuable ammunition in the world. I wanted to disappear. Instead, I straightened my posture, heart pounding, telling myself I could pretend it never happened. Unfortunately, Elias Kane had never been the type to let anything slide. Baby. His voice was low, deliberate, carrying across the conference table with just enough emphasis to make several junior officers choke back laughter. My ears burned. Sir, I meant sir. But the damage was done. And for the rest of that meeting, every time I dared to look up from my notes, I found his gaze waiting for me, steady, unblinking, and undeniably amused. It had been a year since I was assigned to his ship, the USS Vanguard. Serving under him was like sailing with a storm, equal parts thrilling and terrifying. He was decisive, sharp, and utterly unshakable. Meanwhile, I was still finding my footing, trying not to trip over my own tongue or let my nerves get the better of me. But there was something else, something I couldn't ignore. Every time he spoke to me, whether issuing orders or asking for a report, there was a flicker of something in his eyes. Not pity, not disdain. Something warmer, more dangerous. And that morning's slip of the tongue had only thrown fuel on the fire. After the meeting, I was the first to leave the conference room, practically sprinting down the long hallway toward the deck. I needed air-fresh, salty, bracing air. Lieutenant Hayes. His voice stopped me cold. I turned slowly, finding him leaning against the doorway, his cap tucked under one arm, that damn smile still plastered across his face. Yes, sir. He closed the distance between us in measured, unhurried steps, each one making my pulse race faster. When he was close enough that I could smell the faint scent of cedar and sea salt on his uniform, he tilted his head slightly. You know, he began, voice smooth as polished steel, I don't think anyone's ever called me that before. "It was a mistake, sir," I said quickly. "Won't happen again." He looked at me like he didn't believe a single word. "We'll see." And then, without another word, he walked past me toward the deck, leaving me standing there, breathless. Over the next week, the teasing began. At first, it was subtle. A lingering glance in the mess hall, a raised eyebrow whenever I stumbled over my words. Then it escalated, small, deliberate provocations designed to make me squirm. During a briefing, he leaned over my shoulder to look at my notes. "Careful, baby," he murmured so only I could hear. "You're writing too fast." I nearly dropped my pen. Another time, during inspection, he stopped directly in front of me, eyes scanning my uniform. "Perfect," he said softly. "Just the way I like it." The way he held my gaze made my skin heat under the collar. It wasn't just teasing anymore. It was a game, and I couldn't tell if I wanted him to stop or if I wanted him to push further. The thing about Elias Kane was that he didn't just command ships. He commanded people, and once he set his sights on someone, there was no walking away unscathed. One evening, as the sun dipped low over the Atlantic, I found myself alone on the observation deck. The ocean stretched endlessly in every direction, golden light shimmering across the waves. I thought I was alone until I heard footsteps behind me. "Beautiful view," Elias said, coming to stand beside me. I nodded, not trusting my voice. "Though," he continued, "I've seen something even more captivating lately." I turned to look at him, confused. His eyes locked on mine, and I realized exactly what he meant. "Sir." "Elias," he corrected quietly. My breath caught. "I can't. You're my commanding officer." "Maybe," he said, leaning just close enough that our shoulders brushed. "But that doesn't change what's between us, does it?" The warmth of his proximity seeped into my skin, making it impossible to think clearly. And somewhere deep down, I knew this was the beginning of something I wouldn't be able to stop. The days after that sunset encounter were a blur of conflicting emotions. I was constantly on edge, aware of every glance, every accidental brush of his hand against mine, every slow smile that seemed designed to make my heart stutter. But under all the heat, there was something heavier, something unspoken. Because in the Navy, lines weren't just drawn, they were carved deep into steel. One wrong move and both of our careers could sink. The first storm hit 3 nights later. We were halfway through our patrol off the coast of North Carolina when a distress call came in. A civilian vessel had gone silent after reporting engine trouble. Without hesitation, Elias ordered us to change course. The weather was already turning bad, rain slicing sideways, waves swelling high enough to slam against the deck. "Secure the lines," he shouted over the wind. "Hasten me." I followed him through the chaos, rain soaking us to the bone. We spotted the stranded Boata, small fishing vessel, rocking dangerously in the swells. The rescue was fast, brutal, and dangerous. At one point, I nearly lost my footing on the slick deck, but his hand shot out, gripping my arm hard. "Stay with me, baby," he growled, pulling me upright before I could topple over the railing. The word hit me harder than the wind. Even in the middle of a storm, with adrenaline burning through my veins, I felt my pulse race for an entirely different reason. When it was over, when the fishermen were safe, the storm easing, and the crew moving to secure the ship, I realized Elias hadn't let go of my arm. I met his eyes, and for the first time I saw something raw there. Not teasing, not amused, something like fear. "You could have gone over," he said quietly, almost to himself. "But I didn't," I replied. His jaw tightened. "Don't make me watch you almost die again." The words lodged deep in my chest. And for the first time, I began to understand the way he looked at me wasn't just hunger, it was something far more dangerous. 2 nights later, the danger came from somewhere far more human. A diplomatic escort mission had gone sideways, miscommunication between fleets, tempers flaring, and suddenly we were nose to nose with another vessel that wasn't entirely friendly. Orders came in from higher up to hold position, but tensions were razor thin. In the middle of the night, alarms blared. I raced to my station, only to find Elias already there, his voice calm but edged with steel as he issued commands. Then, just as quickly as it had started, the threat passed. But my nerves didn't. When my shift ended, I lingered outside his quarters, unsure why I'd come. The door opened before I could knock. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked. I shook my head. "Come in," he said, stepping aside. His cabin was dim, lit only by a desk lamp. I stood awkwardly near the door until he gestured to the chair opposite him. "You did well tonight," he said, watching me closely. "You're steadier under pressure than you think." "That's because I'm learning from the best," I replied without thinking. His mouth quirked. "Careful, Hayes. Keep talking like that and I might start thinking you like me." I swallowed. "Maybe I do." The silence that followed felt like a live wire between us. Then he stood, crossing the small space until he was right in front of me. "Say it again," he said quietly. I met his eyes. "I like you." The moment his hand cupped the side of my face, the rest of the world fell away. His lips were warm, deliberate, and when he deepened the kiss, I felt years of restraint unravel in a single heartbeat. The weeks that followed were a dance between stolen moments and the careful facade we had to maintain in front of the crew. To everyone else, we were captain and lieutenant. But behind closed doors or under the cover of night on the empty deck we were something entirely different. And yet I knew the risk. I knew what would happen if anyone found out. The breaking point came when the Navy reassigned me. Orders arrived out of nowhere, effective immediately. I was to transfer to a different vessel within 48 hours. I found Elias in his quarters, reading the orders with a stony expression. "This wasn't my decision," he said, voice tight. "I know," but the knot in my throat made the words come out strained. He set the papers down and looked at me like he was memorizing every detail. "They can take you off my ship," he said slowly, "but they can't take you from me." I tried to smile, but it faltered. "We don't even know if..." He cut me off with a kiss that left no room for doubt. On my last night aboard the USS Vanguard, I stood on the deck watching the lights of the harbor draw closer. Elias came to stand beside me, the wind ruffling his hair. "When you called me baby that day," he said, a faint smile tugging at his mouth, "I thought it was a mistake, but now I think it was the truest thing you've ever said to me." My chest ached. "Then I'll keep saying it." He reached for my hand, just for a moment, hidden from the eyes of the crew. His grip was warm, steady, unyielding. "Come back to me, baby," he murmured. "I will," I promised. And as I stepped off his ship, I knew that no matter where the Navy sent me, some part of me would always belong to Elias Kane. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.